Baby, rules matter. And when it comes to the internet, few matter as much as Rule 34. In 2021, an Animal Crossing porn parody inexplicably blew up online after it was shoved in front of the wrong audience, resulting in a bizarre domino effect that awoke thousands to a catgirl hypnosis fetish, briefly resurrected the career of a Croatian pop star from the 80s, and was perhaps the only time in history where people's moms were unknowingly sending hentai references in the family group chat. What I'm saying is, millions of people accidentally collaborated to manifest the biggest goon meme of all time. But how could something like this actually happen? This is the unbelievable story of Newgrounds, Ankha Zone, and you. This is Bad Art History. If you clicked on this video, chances are high that the phrase ankha zone stirred up something in you or attached to you. But if you've never heard of this, it's a meme from a 2021 adult animation of the villager from Animal Crossing getting it on with Ankha, the humanoid cat girl. So far, so internet. But on September 3rd, 2021, for reasons no one understands, a twisted genius randomly remembered the song from the Animal Crossing porno and uploaded it to TikTok, where it blew up. And that was the beginning of the end. Because as the song racked up millions of views on YouTube, for several tragic weeks, oblivious TikTok users and Facebook aunties alike were sending everyone they knew a deceptively cute video of a dancing cat. So what was actually going on here? There have been dirtier memes and catchier songs, and Ankha isn't even close to the most popular Animal Crossing character to get this treatment. Well, it turns out the answer lies deeper, because for 26 long, hard years, a series of horny internet phenomena were slowly lining up for Ankha Zone to explode. And if that sounds crazy, put on your tinfoil hat, lock your bedroom door, and enable cruise control, because it's time to talk about a website called Newgrounds.
Everything. Everyone!
Before we get into the monstrosity that brought you Numa Numa, Smiling Friends, and terabytes of animated cartoon porn, super quick timeline. January 2017. South Korean adult animator -8 uploads ankharide.swif. And remember this SWIF file format because it's going to be very important. Then, January 2021. The artist Zone Sama, famous for numerous contributions to Newgrounds and YouTube, uploads Ankha Zone as an homage to -8's creation. Now, as for Newgrounds itself, it's a website known for its irreverent attitude and thousands of culture-defining flash games and animations. And even if you've never been on it, you felt its influence. From Salad Fingers to Peanut Butter Jelly Time to All Your Base or Belong to Us to the Teen Titans parody that was the awakening for every online male in 2007. All were either from or popularized via Newgrounds. And in case you don't see where this is going, the Teen Titans parody, the Jenny the Teenage Robot video that royally pissed off Viacom, and Ankha Zone were all made by one person and all came from this website. But how did we get here? Unceremoniously pooped out onto the World Wide Web on July 6, 1995 by a teenage Tom Fulp. What began as a love letter to the Neo Geo console series quickly turned into two controversial flash games, Assassin and Club a Seal. You can imagine what the gameplay looked like. Foreshadowing the iconic screw you attitude that would define a generation, Fulp thoughtfully considered the hate mail being sent to him by those who felt that his games were mean-spirited, and then displayed it on his site for laughs. From here, to paraphrase his own words, Newground had taken on a solid form, kind of like how digested food becomes a turd. And this turd proved very appetizing, as through the late 90s, Newgrounds rapidly cultivated an edgy user base while trying, in vain, not to lose advertisers. Why a brand wouldn't want to appear on the website where you can play man wearing exploding vest walking into a store simulator is anyone's guess. But then 1998 rolls around and lawsuit. After Fulp uploaded an animation depicting the Teletubbies coping with crippling drug addiction and alcoholism, the British public was so offended by this portrayal of their greatest cultural export that the BBC sued on copyright grounds and lost. That is American free use law. Over the next decade, Fulp and his close-knit team worked tirelessly to keep the website afloat through ballooning server costs caused by thousands of game, music, and video submissions, dictating a large share of edgy internet humor along the way, and in so doing, setting themselves up for potential disaster. And speaking of potential disaster, it's a big internet out there, and honestly, have you ever tried Googling yourself? You'd be shocked at how much of your personal information is freely available online. But I know I have nothing to worry about thanks to today's sponsor, Aura. Aura is a VPN that keeps you safe online while protecting your most sensitive info from hackers and data brokers. Unlike other VPNs, Aura offers antivirus protection, a data broker opt-out that removes your personal info from those shady people search sites, identity theft protection and alerts, and 24/7 US-based customer service alongside a ton of other features. Aura will notify you in minutes if your financial info has been exposed online, and even let you lock your Experian file with one tap to keep your credit safe. With over 100 virtual locations, access global content anywhere, anytime with just one click. And the best part, I get this all in one app at one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/Frankie to try 2 weeks for free. That will be enough time for Aura to find out if your personal data is exposed. Okay, sponsor's done. But we're not at the bad times just yet, because out there on the internet was a slowly multiplying species of human being who stood to benefit like no one ever had from one of Newgrounds' most basic features: shockwave support. Why does that matter? Because what Fire did for the human race, Flash Player did for Coomers. Coomers and Gooners. Two pejorative internet terms that largely describe the same thing. A person, usually male, who is dangerously addicted to adult content. And with Newgrounds' robust support of the SWIF, aka shockwave file format, and the SWIF's popularity in adult animations and games, it's no surprise that hundreds of adult artists found their audience on this website. Now, I obviously can't show you why this format worked so well, so think of it like this. A SWIF is a container file that uses vectors, kind of like a set of instructions that tell an object where to move, where to rotate, or where to bounce up and down crazy style for 4.5 minutes. What animators may lose in terms of visual detail with this method, they often make up for with ease of animation. Combine that with motion tweens, a bouncy, elastic animation style infamous for its use in adult material, and you get the picture. And if you don't, I can only direct you with extreme caution to the Incredible Gassy or the Spider-Man backshots gif. The shockwave format's small file size and widespread compatibility at the time made it easy to upload adult content in that format anywhere it was permitted, especially on a website that gave as few fucks as Newgrounds. And this is where the rubber meets the road. In late 2006, a user going by Zone Sama would make a Newgrounds account, blowing up almost immediately because of her uncanny ability to imitate the art style of existing shows. In 2007, Zone was already blazing new ground and providing Raven and Starfire fans with the highest quality goon material they had ever seen in their lives. Her Jenny the Teenage Robot video so closely resembled the actual show that Viacom forced her to take it down under threat of legal action. And fun fact, this thing is still haunting Nickelodeon because as recently as 2022, the developers of fighting game Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl were forced to remove one of Jenny's voice lines because of its inescapable association with the porn video.
You wouldn't like my brain. It's all circuity and metallic.
If that's not a sign you made it, I don't know what is. Between her mascot, Zonton,
It's pronounced Zone-Ton.
and the wildly popular ZTV animated series, Zone had quickly carved out a niche as one of the most prolific adult artists online.
I am now a fan of ZTV. Here is the reason. It's because of this hot, sexy character.
But you may have noticed that we completely glossed over the fact that eons ago, a list of rules of the internet were carved into stone on a website that can't go 2 seconds without talking about fluids, religious minorities, and autism. And no, it's not 4chan. See, as Rule 37 clearly states, there are no women on the internet. Or are there? Rule 34. and also 1 through 33 and 35 through whatever. If I can be honest, the reason I've name-dropped Rule 34 without offering a definition is because, frankly, everyone and their mother knows what it means. If it exists, there's part of it. Skibbity Toilet, the John Goodman dinosaur in 1993's smash hit, We're Back, the Microsoft paperclip. Without much exaggeration, if you can imagine it, it's out there. And when it comes to popular franchises, there's a whole cottage industry of source filmmaker animators who pay their bills using freely available software to animate every character from every game doing everything. Major game studios are now so aware of this phenomenon that some play into it in their own marketing. Some, allegedly, have even been accused of making overly anatomically detailed character models knowing what people do with them. All this to say, from the sanctioned Rule 34 sites to the rise of animated clips being hosted on traditional platforms, it was merely a matter of time before Ankha, the Egyptian cat girl with the resting bitch face, would get the same treatment. And you must be thinking, yeah, this is very obvious. Why would anyone even need to spell out the concept of Rule 34? People have been making smut since cave times. But that's the thing. Grug didn't have access to the internet, which means someone in your lifetime had to be the first guy online to make this observation and name it. On August 13th, 2003, in yet another demonic act committed by a British person, the author of the webcomic Zoom Out made this panel. Depicting his devastation at finding erotic art of Calvin and Hobbes, he dubbed this phenomenon Rule 34 of the internet. And this was so self-evident, it blew people's minds. It fundamentally changed the way we talk about this stuff online. By 2006, contributors to the aforementioned satire site Encyclopedia Dramatica sourced all sorts of internet truisms from 4chan threads, anonymous IRC chats, and even 4chan daddy, Chris Poole himself.
The rules were created by the man to keep you down. They don't actually exist.
The resulting list became the rules of the internet. And its staying power lies in the fact that not only does it explain every single thing uploaded to DeviantArt, it's actually a very insightful commentary on human behavior. Don't believe me? Okay. Rule 43. The more beautiful and pure a thing is, the more satisfying it is to corrupt. Consider the cult fandom around fluffy pony abuse, a collection of illustrations and fanfics loosely based on My Little Pony, wherein these cloyingly cute pony homunculus creatures, which only want love and cannot possibly defend themselves, are subjected to extreme torture. Or maybe Rule 42, nothing is sacred. Religion, tragedy, the miracle of life, none of it is too untouchable to avoid becoming gay 9/11 Shrek pregnancy fan art. You know, the amount of times that I invoke 9/11 in these videos is getting like disrespectful. And we can't forget Rule 35. In the extremely rare case that no explicit content exists about something, it will. And to speedrun the rest of this list, 41, everything is somebody's fetish. 47, you're probably never getting laid. And this brings us back to Rule 37. There are no girls on the internet. I'm gonna be so real for a second. Women have been on the internet forever, though women probably found themselves in the minority for most of the internet's lifetime, and the women behind anonymous accounts were likely assumed male unless stated otherwise. But the female share of the internet is growing, and if you think that the majority of people flooding the web with yaoi, dress-up games, and slash fics since the 90s were men, you're crazy. Now, when it comes to the more hardcore visual stuff, especially when it comes to content demonstrating extreme views about women's bodies, it's safe to assume most of it is by men for men. Also, real quick on the topic of real-life harm. I wasn't sure where in the video to mention this, but you should be aware that -8, the artist responsible for the 2017 Ankha Ride animation, torpedoed his career due to openly being kind of a torpedo himself. Obviously, separating art from artist is an individual choice. But when a person who makes explicit content expresses opinions about little kids, it's almost always a very, very, very bad sign. Anyway, let's return to Ankha and Newgrounds. What exactly was that impending disaster about to hit Newgrounds? By the mid-2010s, the commitment to free speech and shock humor that once set Newgrounds apart was going out of style. And it was also around this time that Tumblr, with its reputation for a large female user base, social activism, and complete inability to stop engaging the trolls, saw its peak usership. And one of Tumblr's biggest draws, ironically, was that it permitted all sorts of not safe for work material. So in 2018, when Tumblr abruptly banned such content, it experienced an apocalyptic exodus of users from which it would never recover. And sensing this huge opportunity to revive its declining cultural relevance, Newgrounds casually let Twitter know that they would never, ever implement such a ban, and it had never been less over. The pieces were all lining up. And in 2020, when billions found themselves locked inside with only the internet, TikTok, and their right hand to entertain themselves, the release of Animal Crossing New Horizons was an unbelievable success. I can't stress enough, in early 2020, hundreds of millions of people became very online for the first time. And in a once-in-a-lifetime planetary alignment of a bored, lonely, horny, captive audience, an explosively popular game, and an app known for churning out viral sensations, Ankha Zone was in the right place at the right time. In the space of days, the backing track to the Ankha Zone video went mega viral, and how people found their way to Newgrounds, to Zone, to the Animal Crossing hentai that started it all, to a hypnosis fetish, and possibly even to discovering that they were a furry, is no mystery. Oh my god, I totally forgot to mention, Google searches for Rule 34 like exploded like vertically in 2020. I'm gonna drop it somewhere early in the video. Oh my god. I cannot believe I forgot to mention this. And that leaves only one loose end. What about the guy that made the song? Does he know? Did his grandkids have the heart to tell him? Well, no one knows that. But we do know this. Croatian-born singer, songwriter, and guitarist Alexander Marton, stage name Sandy Martin, spent much of his youth in Italy due to his father's employment at the Yugo-Potamian embassy in that country. After being scouted by a talent agent seeking the next teen heartthrob, Sandy enjoyed a brief career in the Italian pop scene between 1983 and 1994, announcing an official retirement in 2005 due to health issues. Hopefully, the former pop star, now in his 60s, remains blissfully unaware of his legacy. But the fact is, Camel by Camel and its covers have accrued upwards of 50 million views on YouTube alone. And the reason aside, if young Sandy Martin could see the hit that his song would become, he probably wouldn't object. But at the end of the day, the rules of the internet, thorough as they are in making this entire thing make sense, actually have one major flaw when it comes to explaining online goonery. So I propose a Rule 48. When looking up your favorite character, curiosity really does kill the cat. This has been Bad Art History. Thank you, as always, to the Lashana Ball Nation for making this possible. If you want blooper reels, uncensored videos, and extended cuts, please consider joining the Patreon.